So, as Annie has said, I was off work at the start of the year, and I have to extend my thanks because I feel a bit of a fraud giving this presentation, because some of this actually I wasn't actually working as the chief executive. So Alison, who's also on the screen controlling everything, I want to give a big thank you to her, because she stood out as, with no sort of notice whatsoever, as the acting chief executive. And as in always in a small organisation, when somebody is off, it makes a big difference in the amount of work others have to do. So Alison led the organisation, I think, for probably 3/4 of this work that I'm now going to speak about. So I want to thank her and the rest of the team for the work they've done over the year. In previous years, we've spoken about shutting down and staying safe. And this year, I think it's been the opposite focus, because we've been dealing with opening up, supporting communities to build, what the government's phrase was, build back better, supporting people to who were nervous to come out and meet up again and take part in community life again. So a lot of our earlier work in the year was very much about this. And we are thankful for a grant from the Cambridgeshire Coronavirus Community Fund, which allowed us a programme with village halls to give them extra support to open their doors. And that programme of work supported training, online training about getting your community back into the building safely, how to promote your hall, again, to help people use it again, and how to recruit and induct new trustees and volunteers. We found that there'd been quite a lot of trustees stand down after the coronavirus pandemic. So that was about gaining new people in your community to come forward. That fund also provided small grants to halls to try new activities, and that grant gave them the reassurance to put those activities on without making a financial loss. The project concluded with a 3-month-long marketing campaign, which was about promoting your hall to communities and local businesses. And you'll see from the slide here, this is Abbottsley showing the brand, and they're that they're open for business. So that happened across the whole of the Cambridgeshire with the halls that joined in. The village halls advice continued, and there was 360 different advice cases supported by our village halls advisor Lisa. The most advice given was on governance and governance issues, health and safety, and hiring arrangements. Events were held, and now, because people have got online, we can hold them online and in person, and that means more village hall trustees can join. So we've had an upsurge of people joining meetings, and the members online network has been highly successful at sharing support, not just from ourselves, but also sharing between village halls and communities to the different things that have happened and gone on there. So I hope those of you that have joined that have really found that beneficial, those meetings. With money from the Arts Council England, we funded a rural touring project in the Cambridgeshire Fens, and we re-engaged that project with trying to re-engage arts promoters and helping them feel confident again to reopen and to put on live performance. Fair to say this was quite difficult, because communities were quite nervous to come together, and promoters were nervous they were going to make a loss by putting on arts events and not selling enough tickets. So we overcame this by offering 4 cabaret-style events in outdoor spaces. These were held in Wisbech, St Mary, Little Thetford, Isleham and Colne, and they did actually very successful, and they encouraged people to come out of their homes and socialise in a safe way. More recently, this photo shows a cafe cabaret at Abbottsley with a banana ukulele band and their aerialist Katrina, who came there. So again, you can see they are quite unique events and enjoyed by everyone that attends. Going forward with this project, if anybody wants to have art, rural touring and arts in their halls, we have got money where we could support you to get that set up in your hall. I cannot obviously make this presentation without talking about cost of living crisis for those living in rural Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. And I think the issues related to this are that in rural areas, people living there have lower earnings. We know that, lower skill levels, there's less energy efficient properties, higher rents, lack of affordable housing all the same. We know there's been cuts to rural transport, and obviously travelling is more expensive, and travelling to services like medical appointments is again more expensive. And we know there are also poorer health outcomes. So essentially what we are finding is that people have not got enough money coming in to cover their outgoings, and many people are dealing with this. We've got rising prices, and they're just falling into the just managing bracket at the moment, because obviously they might be on lower wages. So what we've done is refocused and doubled our charitable efforts on working with our partners to support rural residents, and that's both individually but also through community action. And we're already starting to tackle some very difficult issues. This project, which is the Cambridgeshire Home Energy Support Service, ran in partnership with Peterborough Environmental City Trust, supported people on low incomes to maintain a warm home. And what it demonstrated to us that there is much fuel poverty. And this was actually before we had the recent rises in gas and electricity prices. And people were actually in debt at that point. So what we did here, with the money we had made 141 payments, totaling 53,000 to people in energy debt. Sadly, the funding has run out very quickly, and actually it ran out before the end of the project. PECT also advised on staying warm and healthy and looked at people's homes, and we helped them to pay off the debt they had with their suppliers. But there were some very difficult cases when I tell you that the money we had never really cleared the debt on many people we were speaking to, and that's before the prices of energy went up. We continued our role as accountable body for the Wisbech community-led development programme, and that tackles a broad range of issues, but it particularly about getting people back into work. And obviously getting into work with skills and working is the way out of poverty. We are grateful to our partners, who are often small charities, and they work with the residents to deliver this programme. This picture here on the screen is the charity People and Animals, which is based in Wisbech, and they provided support with training and skills related to looking after animals and horticulture. Glad to report that the project has helped so far, and it's going into its 5th year, 156 people successfully back into work. I'm also really pleased to say that we have just received further grant from the Cambridge and Peterborough Combined Authority to extend the project until December 2023 and support more people with learning skills and qualifications in Wisbech. Annie mentioned it in her speech about the warm hubs. So our most recent project commenced in September and has moved at a pace to develop community-led warm hubs. This work is funded by the Integrated Care System through the South Place Partnership and through working closely with East Cambs District Council and South Cambs District Council. So what is a warm hub? It's a friendly open space where people can come together. Hot drinks will be offered, and connection to services. There'll be energy advice, grant advice for individuals, and support with wider requirements of individuals. What can I say? We've had an amazing response from communities. One email was sent out and we already had 50 communities. I think it's actually gone up to 53 now across East Cambs and South Cambs who wish to set up a warm hub. Volunteers coming forward, and they have offered village halls, churches, day centres, and even Tesco have offered their community room. So that the process now are being set up, and the volunteers being trained, and we hope the doors will open any minute now. Another 2 weeks, we hope the doors will open. And I know some of us have been reaching for our heating buttons already this last week, so it'll be in a good time. We've also worked with Cambridgeshire County Council libraries that have offered something different, but also warm spaces, and they will be affiliated this scheme and opening their doors, and they will also be providing warm drinks in libraries as well. So that will give people an alternative place to go. And of course, they've got advice and support available in libraries. So we continued our community action and volunteering in the local environment. Our project New Life on the Old West was able to start delivery this year after a delay due to COVID. And this project is to test out community engagement and involvement in what we call landscape scale nature conservation. So what we've done is taken the area along the Old West River and engaged people in that area to create stepping stones and corridors for wildlife across the landscape. So not just one small site, lots of sites across the landscape. And the idea is that new habitat for nature can move around and nature can colonise those areas. 9 parish councils and residents are involved, and they're already changing the future management of their community-owned land and green space by creating wildlife habitats. You see volunteers in this slide in Cottenham digging a pond on community land. We've also, from that, work with landowners, so farmers and other landowners, to develop habitats across the farmland, but also the ditch network. So they're kind of the corridors from the green space in the community. There's been a lot of community engagement and learning, which is vital to the project. And over the summer, a number of events took place, including Open for Nature Days in parishes, and to get people more out and involved in nature on their doorsteps. This was a very unique project to engage children in considering nature around them. And we were successful with a grant from the Anglian Water Flourishing Environment Fund to support eels in the classroom. I really think this must be a first. What happened was eels were taken and put into tanks in the classroom. You see them being collected in the first picture. They're in the tanks in the second picture. And then the children learnt about the eels in the tanks, studied the habitats of eels, and then they released the young eels back at St Germans pumping station near King's Lynn, where they were originally caught. Highly successful project, and we hope now we've learnt how to do this, we can offer more schools the chance to have eels in the classroom in the future. I mentioned the works on farms, just to show you these works. So we've got here a berm at Willow Grange Farm. You'll see down the side here this kind of shelf. That is a shelf where new wildlife habitat will form, and it provides somewhere for the habitat and the wildlife to go as the water levels rise. And in the other slide, we've got a corner pond, which provides a place for birds to drink. And these are across the area of this the Old West River. We also had additional funding in this area from the EU Water Environment Grant, and this was to put coir rolls into water courses. So you'll see down here these pegs, they're coir rolls. They're impregnated with seeds and grass that grow up, and again they create a habitat for insects to be in, and birds, but they also help with pollution and runoff from the fields into the water. And we had a successful rate with landowners coming together, a training event to demonstrate this when we got that sort of done. So that's successful, and it's quite a simple way, and can obviously we can do more of that as we go forward. Our volunteering programmes in the environment have increased since COVID, and this summer we've been very busy. The New Life on the Old West project has successfully recruited 40 community nature volunteers, and they have undertaken the training, and the part of their work is citizen science. They're recording nature sightings and plants and animals where they live, and then those recordings are helping us to know whether we are improving habitats and biodiversity. All ages are involved in that. We have a long-standing volunteering scheme with Anglian Waterways, funded by the Environment Agency. That again was suspended during COVID, but we were able to get the volunteer programme up and running again this summer, with 24 volunteers retraining to undertake lock management and provide tourist information to boaters on the River Ouse. They support with sort of keeping boat traffic moving, but also this summer it was important because obviously the management of the locks was kept flowing with the water shortage.
webinar.
And in March and Ramsey, we carried on with our volunteer litter pits through the catchment partnership. They've been successful. This is a project to get people more engaged in their local rivers and waters that run through their towns. The Queen's Green Canopy created during the Platinum Jubilee. We hosted an event for this, which was attended by over 100 parishes, to relay about this and ask people to in their parish plant a tree. And I have to say that's been very successful. Obviously, with the sad passing of Her Majesty the Queen, we know now the initiative has been extended. So we're now in the autumn, we are in the tree planting time again. So there is still time. If you haven't planted a tree, please, you can plant a tree and put it on the interactive map to log your tree if you haven't done that. This programme shows the ACRE Parish Council grounds team who planted 22 trees. I thank all our volunteers because actually we've had a lot of volunteering effort over this summer. So I thank them all because they really do make a difference to us enjoying the outdoors and supporting the natural environment into the future. Provision of obviously affordable housing in our communities cannot be more important than now at this time. We know there's rising private rents and increased house prices since the pandemic. We lead and facilitate at the Eastern Community Homes, which is the community-led housing hub for the East of England. A number of early successes in this new programme has been online seminars about community-led housing, training for staff to be accredited as community-led housing enablers, and we actually have 42 community-led housing groups receiving our support across, this is not just Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, the whole of the East of England. A partnership of local authorities has been formed, and with 18 across the East of England being supported and now paying a membership to the hub. Cambridgeshire ACRE was signed a contract with Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority to lead their support for community-led housing. Later this year we did that, and we're making great grants available still for grants to take on community-led housing in Cambridgeshire. We also have a contract through Eastern Community Homes with Chelmsford City Council, and they have commissioned a package of support again in Chelmsford to support groups in more depth in that area. The picture on the screen is Great Staunton CLT, and pleased to say this is an example of a parish council that's really taken years to get there, but how great it is now. The houses are being built. There's 12 social and affordable housing being built by the CLT on this site now. And this is a mixed development of there's 3 shared ownership and 9 homes for social rent. And these will go to people with local connection through that CLT. They look lovely, and they were built on parish council land. So it's a wonderful project that will provide good homes for people. We have a rural housing partnership that continues in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and we employ a housing enabler who works with parish councils to build homes on rural exception sites. Over the last year, we completed 8 housing needs surveys and commenced our work with parish councils to look for land to build homes. The picture here is some recent homes built in Wicken, East Cambridgeshire, where we completed a housing needs survey to support parish councils, with support of parish council and Cambridge Housing Society to bring the houses forward. So here we have 11 affordable rented and 5 shared ownership homes, and they were all now fully occupied by families with young children who will have a connection to Wicken and the surrounding villages. The good thing about these homes also, they have air source heat pumps to help with lower carbon emission, and best thing of all, keep bills down. Neighbourhood planning groups have continued to be busy and returned to levels before COVID. We continue to give support to these groups, and we're working at the moment with our consultants with 8 groups: Soham, Great Granston, Great Staunton, Warrington, Pampersforth, Swavesey, Thiplow and Waterbeach. 2 plans that Cambridgeshire ACRE worked with were made during the year, and they're in Buckton and Waterbeach. So that's good. And we've had actually recently quite a few other inquiries of new groups, which is really, really good. So like many charities, longer time financial sustainability obviously continues to be important to us. And I think we're going to have more demand on our vital services as we go through the next years with the cost of living. So we look at keeping our income diversified, and we've focused on 5 key areas. Those areas are obviously to support the impacts of cost of living, and as they worsen, to bring more services forward to do that support, the warm hubs being the start of that work. Our environmental work continues to grow, and we're in a good position to support partners and rural communities to take forward their climate change and net zero plans. We are considering also how we can increase our support to community-run buildings, because we don't want them left behind, and I think they can become a focal point for community endeavours around low carbon living and climate change adaptation mitigation. So we're looking at how we might do that and bring some more funds in to support halls to do that. We obviously will continue to strengthen our rural housing and our community-led housing and neighbourhood planning work, so that more benefit can be had from these programmes and more communities can benefit. And there will be next year, that's calendar year, more online learning events for communities around these areas, especially neighbourhood planning. So really our strategy for the year ahead is to develop services to support communities to mitigate the cost of living, increase our services to communities in the climate change and housing, and while remaining ourselves, sustaining ourselves with long-term financial viability. I thank partners, trustees and staff there's a lot of work here across a lot of areas, and I do really thank them, because this would not obviously be possible without staff at Cambridgeshire ACRE, the trustees at Cambridgeshire ACRE, but also all our partners we work with, because none of this is really done alone. It is all done in partnerships as we go forward. So thank you.